Hello, I'm your host Remy, and this is Remy Reviews, the show where I get to review things and you get to sit there and watch. So, Kirby is often referred to as a kiddie game series. That's simply not true. These games are amazing and fun for just about everyone. And this game is a great example. Kirby Superstar Ultra. The DS remake of Kirby Superstar for the SNES. I own a DS copy of the game, but I need to use an emulator because I can't record DS footage. So, yeah. Very sorry about that. This game is split into a large number of parts, and I'll talk about each one individually and give them each a rating. First off is Spring Breeze. In this part, the Tyrant King DDD has stolen all of the food in Dreamland because he's a jerk. And it's up to Kirby to murder anything in his way to get that food back. This is pretty easy, and it sets you up for the rest of the game pretty well. It's the most linear in level design, and it's pretty hard to die if you know what a game console is. All in all, I give this part 7 out of 10. Next is Dynablade. Dynablade is the name not only of this section of the game, but also the final boss of this section. In this segment, you have to stop Dynablade from destroying the crops in Dreamland. Also, Dynablade is a giant bird with blades for wings. This one is slightly harder, and there are a few secret rooms and such, but other than that, it's a lot like Spring Breeze, so 7.5 out of 10. The Great Cave Offensive is next. Basically, Kirby falls in a hole. That's it. He falls in a hole. Now, this might be the most confusing part of the game. It's basically a giant maze filled with collectible items that are worth a certain amount of G. Or gold? I assume that it's just Dreamland currency, so let's just call it, dreams. Now, there are 60 items that are worth a lot of dreams in total. Your job is to get to the end and collect as many items as you can along the way. It's a completionist's dream come true, believe me. Now, the level design is completely unpredictable unless you memorize every door that you see. I give this one another 7.5 out of 10 just because I'm not that into big collect-em-alls. Well, the next one is Gourmet Race. It's like Sonic the Hedgehog meets Kirby. Moving on. Okay, I'll explain. King DDD is being a glutton and eating food in front of Kirby. Kirby doesn't like that, so he goes berserk and eats everything in sight. The point of this segment is to race King DDD to the end while collecting the many random food objects scattered across the level. Beating DDD to the end is worth 30 points, and each disc is worth 1. When this is done, your scores are measured, and if you win and had the most points, you get to unlock new stuff, I guess. Previous players will know just what to do. Singled out new players will struggle a bit. 6.5 for that. Well, now it's time for Meta Knight's Revenge, and I am gonna sing this song. No, I'm not. Meta Knight is on his battleship, the Halberd, planning some trouble. The trouble isn't exactly specified, but Kirby swoops in, and you're basically tossed into the fray right away. In this one, you're on a time limit, which makes the whole chunk of the game that much harder. There are so many more enemies to fight as well, and more obstacles in general. This is a true challenge for any gamer. The bosses are the most difficult I can think of in the entire game. Heavy Lobster is a golden lobster robot who shoots fire, jumps around the screen, and is pretty unpredictable as a boss. He's really difficult unless you're using the plasma copy ability, and if you are, then you're not taking this game seriously, using such an overpowered ability. Stupid plasma noobs. Main cannon number 2 is a giant cannon with robotic arms and 2 projectile attacks. One is a giant laser that takes away almost half your health. The other is a bunch of cannonballs that each take about 1/4 of your health. Watch out. This boss is the only one that really killed me while I was playing through this for the review. The easiest way to beat him without being the overpowered plasma ability is with Yo-Yo Kirby. The mini-bosses are all the same. The final boss, Meta Knight, though, is really tough. You enter the helm of the halberd, and you see him standing on a ledge. In front of you is a sword that says, "Take this." If you take the sword, the battle starts immediately. If not, you'll have to wait a minute or two to get him to start fighting you. Yeah, he's pretty stubborn like that. Take the sword. No, I don't want to take the sword. Take the sword. No, I don't want to take the sword. Take the sword. He has every ability as you do with a sword and some special attacks. The tornado attack is, basically flies around as a tornado. It's nothing special. But the mock tornado is a giant wave, kind of like a giant laser coming from the sky. The downward thrust and super parry are basically just fancy techniques. If you beat him, it's not over yet. You find a bike and now you have to jump off the halberd in the next 20 seconds or so before it crashes. All the while, Meta Knight flies around trying to kill you. This part is a true test of will and skill if I ever saw one. 9 out of 10. Next is Revenge of the King. King DDD is getting serious now. He's determined to kill Kirby. So he does the weirdest thing. He puts makeup on his subjects and tells them to stand in Kirby's way. Hooray! I don't have any footage of anything but the first few levels, because Screencast-O-Matic sucks. But basically, the king has decided that he isn't Amish and he uses a giant high-tech hammer and wears a mask. That's the final boss of the section. And it's freaking awesome! 9 out of 10. Finally, we have Milky Way wishes. In this segment, the sun and moon are fighting. And a small creature named Marks, who loves that ball, has asked Kirby to find Nova, a wish-granting planet. Yes, I said planet. You can't copy abilities by inhaling things in this segment. Instead, there are 19 trophies to collect that each give you different powers. But you don't need any of those if you go to this star and get the copy trophy, rendering the whole idea useless until the final boss. Speaking of whom, guess who screwed you over? Marks. He uses his wish to send Nova to Popstar and take it over. Once you blow Nova's power core up, I'm very sorry, I don't know how to speak today. He shows you his true form, and you have to beat the crap out of him with whatever you got. He shoots knives, lasers, and he can plant giant spiky vines. He also has a digging attack, but that's it's pretty easy to dodge. Hammer is the way to beat him if you're a skilled player. If not, you can always use the overpowered plasma attack, but you know. But to beat Marks with anything but plasma on the first life is like a wave of endorphins was sprayed off into your room. It's just so satisfying to see Nova blow up. 10 out of 10. Now that you've saved the world, your time as Kirby is pretty much limited to replaying levels and playing the arena games. The arena and the true arena. Both are just boss waves and are only interesting if you feel confident enough to beat them. There's also Helper to Hero, which is the same thing, but as one of those partners that you get with along the way. 8 out of 10 for all of those. But there is one final piece of this game that by itself is worth the $26 you spent on the entire game. Meta Nightmare Ultra. Basically, you play through the entire game as Meta Knight. And it is the most fun I've ever had with a DS remake ever. Super Mario 64 DS can go kick rocks. As Meta Knight, you have the powers of Sword Kirby, and you have the flight abilities of Wing Kirby. But you also have the downward thrust. You also have the touchscreen abilities, which cost points that you get by killing enemies. These consist of Night Call, which costs 2 points and gives you a Sword Knight or Blade Knight helper. Meta Quick, which makes you 1 point times as fast as you already are, and costs 8 points. For 10 points you can heal yourself, and for 30 you can use the Mock Tornado, which is, as I said, a powerful laser attack. But in this mode it kills all normal enemies or mini-bosses on the screen. But it can't kill a level boss or final boss. It can do a lot of damage though. It's all the same as the Kirby version of the game until the final boss, Galactic Knight, who is like Meta Knight mixed with Marks. So, 10 out of 10 for this segment of the game. It's just so satisfying. It's the same thing I had with the Milky Way Wishes thing, basically. So how does it all plan out? Well, the controls are nice, tight, but not constricting. Copy abilities aren't too overpowered, except for Plasma. Freaking Plasma, fritter. And the level design is just genius. And in the end, the big fun factor comes from our need for destruction. Every enemy looks so tortured with you when you kill them, and most of them are just going about their day. Kirby is a true menace to citizens of Dreamland, I swear. But he keeps them safe from the true baddies too, so he's the lesser of two evils. All in all, I give this game a 9.5 out of 10. But my little brother Pierson feels a little differently. Let's see what he has to say.